Thank you, Roger. All right, good afternoon, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Madison. I'm Paul Hoffman, club president. I want to say thanks for joining us today. We have a great crowd and a good program today, so I really appreciate everyone coming out. I wanted to give a little tip to Roger here. Fantastic. All right. I got to find out where I'm in the script. And so I hope you enjoyed the slides that we had of the club members who served in the military during the pre-meeting PowerPoint slide. And today's meeting is sponsored by members of our Veterans Fellowship Group. And thanks for their support of today's luncheon. Okay. Well, we'll open up our meeting as we do by reciting the four-way test together. Hold on one second. Tara, do you have the four-way? Awesome. All right. Of what we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build good and better friendships? Will be beneficial to all concerned? Great. Thank you. And we'll open up our meeting then with our music, our patriotic song. Ken Yeska is going to lead us in singing My Country 'Tis of Thee. And Roger Stouter, of course, is going to be on the keyboard.
We could be singing Yankee Doodle Dandy, but that's World War I. You know, could have been a lot of patriotic songs today, but we're doing America. Oh, beauty 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where thy fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Roger. That's your first time playing piano for our meeting officially, so it's nice to have him here helping us out. All right, and then our guests are going to be introduced by past President Dave Uwanowski. Dave?
Thanks, Paul. It's my pleasure to welcome our guests and visitors today. We ask that you please stand as your name is called and remain standing so we can recognize you as a group. Joy Cardine has four guests: Barb Feeney, Wendy Hathaway, Barbara Mortensen, and Brooke Solvet. Tim Conroy has two guests, Dawn Vandre and Christy Vader. Chase Gould is a guest of Susan Schmitz. Alta Price, a guest of Andrea Kaminsky. Jamie Perez, a guest of Christy Goforth. John Konarski, a guest of Terry Morawski. And there are a number of guests of the Swarsensky Award Committee: Anna Hunter, Travis Hunter, Eric Replinger, and Lynn Replinger. And then we have one visiting Rotarian, Priscilla Thane, guest of Jerry Thane, but also a member of the Breakfast Rotary Club, So welcome to all of our guests and visitors.
All right, thank you, Dave, and welcome to all of our guests. Before I move on to the next item, if anyone still has a director ballot that needs to be turned in, please raise your hand so someone from the Kitchen Fellowship Group can pick it up. Or if you still need a ballot for today's election, please let the Kitchen Fellowship Group know. All right. And then they're going to be around picking up the ballots too. So if you do have a ballot to turn in, please raise the ballot in the air so they can help pick up those ballots if you could too. All right, the number I've chosen to highlight for today is 40. And 40 is the number of members who belong to the Veterans Fellowship Group, and that I mentioned during the opening as sponsoring today's meeting. Their group of 40 is even more than the 30 members who have a law classification, believe it or not. This group meets monthly, and they are holding a meeting right after our luncheon today. And any member of our club is welcome to be part of that fellowship group. And then please contact the Rotary office if you'd like to be part of the Rotary Veterans Fellowship Group or any other fellowship group. It's a great way to get to know your fellow members. All right. And as you probably know already, Mary Donahue chairs this year's annual fund drive, and she will come up and give us a quick update. And thank you to all those members who already have given to the annual fund drive. And let's help Mary out and get our pledges in soon. Come on up, Mary.
Thank you, President Paul. Hi, my name is Mary, and I'm a forgetaholic. My issues with forgetting began many years ago when I was in college and maybe didn't understand how many credits were appropriate per semester and the extracurriculars that got in my way. But I was young, and my mind was still very plastic, flexible, and I could cover for it. But then about a dozen years went by, and I was married and a mom of two, full-time job, and my forgetting got worse. But I could cover for it still, and people understood I was under a lot of pressure. I could make excuses. But now I'm this age. And I have reminders on my phone. Quite honestly, one of them here says, "Get gasoline, 8/18/22, 8 a.m." I must have done that. I have Post-its. I have all sorts of things I use, but they don't always work. And actually, if I don't finish this soon, I won't remember where my chair is. So I'm going to buzz through this. But there's a point here. And can we see the slide? So this, ladies and gentlemen, is where we stand today. We're darn close to halfway there, which does, of course, mean that this message is landed with 100% of you who remember things, and not landed at all with 100% of you who forget things. But I'm here to tell you, you're in safe quarters here. You can share this information with me. I invite you to, I know you're not going to remember, but email me or come over and talk to me after the meeting and let me know you're one of those people who could use a reminder, because I'm happy to remind you. This is important. Getting to goal is important. And I'll do, obviously, at this point with the costumes and everything else, everything that's necessary to get us to goal. So thank you very much. And please don't forget.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary. All right. And now we'll move on to a very special presentation as we honor this year's recipient of our Manfred E. Swarsensky Humanitarian Service Award. Steve Goldberg, who chairs the committee, will come forward for this presentation. Steve?
Thank you, President Paul, and thank everybody else for holding your applause. I appreciate that. Some parts of the room are slower than others. It's a privilege to present this award that honors the life and legacy of Manfred Swarsensky. He was my rabbi. Several other people in the room can make the same claim. And he was a longtime, much-loved member of this club. He was a model of humanitarian service. And interestingly enough, tomorrow, November 10, is the 41st anniversary of his passing. Today, November 9, is the 41st annual Manfred Swarsensky Humanitarian Award. A little bit of symmetry there. His daughter and her husband have journeyed from Chicago to be with us. Sharon Swarsensky Bilo, could you and your husband Paul Bilo stand, please? And in honoring the legacy of Rabbi Swarsensky, we remember that he started as a young rabbi in Berlin's largest synagogue. And that synagogue was burnt to the ground by the Nazis during the Holocaust. The rabbi was sent to a concentration camp from which he escaped, came to this country, eventually became the founding rabbi of Temple Beth El. And in that role, he became known among other clergy in Madison as Madison's finest Christian. Edgewood College designated its chair of religious studies in the rabbi's name. And his humanitarian behavior and the example and model that he established were just highly regarded throughout the community. Past recipients of this award, which recognizes a person in our community who demonstrates those same values that the rabbi demonstrated so well. Past recipients who are with us include the following, and I'll ask them to stand as I call their names so we can recognize you as a group. Nancy Abraham, Christine Hodge, Sister Joanne Kolash, Sister Mary David Walgenbach, Melanie Ramey, and last year's award recipient, Charles Tubbs. The full list is in your program if you want to see others whose names stand out as honorees of the Humanitarian Service Award. It's interesting that when Sharon Swarsensky received the invitation to participate today, and when she was told the name of our honoree, namely GAIL Bliss, she says, "Oh my gosh, we were high school classmates." And the other people in the room are also Sharon's high school classmates because they went to what Martha Bukalik Austin would call Madison's finest high school, West High School. And I think they had 500 people at their class reunion recently. So great to have that kind of wonderful coincidence. We had 10 nominations this year for the award. And our committee did, I think, a pretty thoughtful job of making an important decision. The committee includes the following people whom I'd want to thank. Joyce Brumley, Carol Colby, Carl Gutknecht, Rich Leffler, and Charles Tubbs. The examples that we reviewed, these nominations, were uplifting and humbling all at the same time. We felt lucky to live in a community where so many wonderful people are doing wonderful things, many of it without fanfare and without any expectation of recognition. And to paraphrase fellow committee member Rich Leffler, this award shines a warm and gentle light on our neighbors who do good work. It recognizes someone who builds bridges between people, organizations, and communities, something the rabbi did quite well. These examples that we saw were quite special. We saw examples, for example, in other nominations, somebody who spends a lot of time making sure that hundreds of kids each summer who can't afford a bike get one. Somebody who practices in a street medicine clinic to make sure that homeless people and others who need end-of-life care can get affordable access to health care. Somebody who leads grief seminars for people who have lost loved ones. Somebody who pioneered prenatal care on the south side of our community. Somebody who continues to champion immigrant rights every day. And somebody who uses his barbershop as a clinic to strengthen black men's health and wellness. And now we come to today's honoree and her example of humanitarian service to this community. How fitting that the day after our midterm elections, which thankfully are over, I don't know what you can do with all the free time now, but at least your day will not be cluttered with hostile, vengeful advertising. But how fitting that today's honoree, the day after a major election and the day of our own Board of Directors election, is earning this honor because of her work to help people get the documentation that they need to register to vote. And we did not plan it this way, it just happened this way, just as we didn't plan that Sharon would know GAIL Bliss, etc. Believe me if you want. But it's fitting that we honor somebody like GAIL Bliss. And let me just tell you a little bit about GAIL before we actually read her words of thanks. She's being recognized because, according to her nominators, Joy Cardine and Andrea Kaminsky, GAIL believes in the dignity of people and the right of all U.S. citizens to have a voice in our government. She knows that government works best and our community is strongest when more people are engaged as active citizens. This is what has inspired her to devote countless volunteer hours to help vulnerable people, especially those who are homeless, get the documentation they need to register to vote. Some interesting examples are offered here in the nomination. For example, GAIL spent 5 hours in one day driving to 5 locations in order to help an individual get a photo ID and a Social Security card which had been stolen at a homeless shelter. It took her that long, and it was interesting because in order to get a Social Security card, you needed a driver's license or a government ID. But in order to get a government ID, you needed a Social Security card. But GAIL did not give up, and GAIL is a great example of going to where people are, whether they are under bridges or in doorways or any other place where homeless people find shelter during the night. GAIL was there to try to help them get documentation so that they could vote, or connect them with human service agencies that could help them with other issues that they faced. She even crossed frozen ponds in the winter to get to where these folks were sleeping or staying. So, this is somebody we're very proud to recognize, and she is pretty proud to be receiving the recognition, and I'm very proud to find her thing. Here it is. She says, thanks to Downtown Rotary, thanks to the committee, and to my nominators, I'm extremely honored to receive the Manfred Swarsensky Humanitarian Award. I want to thank my parents. They supported my sister and me as we tried to get involved with the community. And basically, service was just part of my life growing up. Thanks to the organizations that nurtured me as a volunteer, as a young adult, I served on multiple boards and committees at my church. Serving meals at homeless shelters helped me see unhoused individuals as people. Helped me see unhoused individuals as people. And I wrote a grant to the Evia Foundation seeking funding to help people receive birth certificates and IDs in order to vote. And as a result, our voter helpline was established to serve individuals who needed help with IDs and other documentation to vote. Nobody works alone in this, she says. The city clerks, the DMV, hospital staff, and especially the homeless service agencies are essential to this process. And I especially want to highlight the clients, because they're the ones who have taught me everything I know. Well, GAIL Bliss, you're teaching us a lot about humanitarian service, and therefore, we are proud, first of all, to ask you to stand. And secondly, I will come down here and give you this plaque and also a check made out to the League of Women Voters of Dane County in the amount of $2,500, which accompanies this award. So please join me in congratulating this year's recipient of the Manfred Swarsensky Award. One more time. Yeah, I know.
Great job. This is always such a special program, and congratulations once again to GAIL Bliss on her award. And I appreciate that the rabbi's daughter and her husband Paul could be here today with us too. So thank you guys for making the trip up from Chicago. All right. Our Community Projects Committee has a table set up in the back of the room for interested members who would be willing to pick up a tag to purchase a gift for a child in need this holiday season. You can stop by the table on your way out of today's meeting if you'd like to help out. And Valerie Rank is a vice president of our Madison Rotary Foundation and a board member, and she has a report for us today. Valerie?
We're the same height, apparently. So again, I like that. Again, I'm Valerie Rank, Vice President of our Madison Rotary Foundation. And as you may know, our Madison Rotary Foundation is celebrating its 90th anniversary this year. We're providing you with monthly historical reports during this anniversary year to give you more detailed information about all the good things we are doing to make our community and our world a better place. To set the stage, well, my script says Jane, but you might know Jane's sick today, is going to show us a listing of all the projects, so I guess it's Tara, and programs our foundation funded last year. You'll see that we have several named endowment funds that are designated for a specific program. This month, as we all observe Veterans Day, I'm going to highlight the Veterans Grant Assistance Fund. First, a little background on the fund. Phil and Kit Blake made a gift of $100,000 in 2013 to establish this fund called the Veterans Grant Assistance Fund of the Madison Rotary Madison Rotary Foundation. This fund is providing grants to help veterans with short-term basic expenses as they transition from the military to studying full-time in college, either at UW-Madison, Edgewood, or Madison College. These grants are being used for items like unexpected medical bills, rent, car repairs, or groceries. This year, the deadline for grant applications from veterans was October 31st. We have a committee that will be reviewing grant applications next week, and they'll make recommendations on funding grants to veterans who are in college this semester and who are experiencing a short-term need for unexpected expenses. Now, we never have enough funding to help all in need with a grant. That's why I'm really excited to announce a new gift to this fund today. Past President George Hidalgo and his wife Andrea share Phil and Kit Blake's enthusiasm for helping veterans. They have made a $105,000 gift to the Veterans Grant Assistance Fund. Yes.
They're not here, but let's give them a standing.
Stand up, yeah.
They're not here, remove them.
Now, this part I hope I'm not going to start crying at. Those of you who heard George's Memorial Day presentation several years ago might remember his story about his son, Darren. Darren was killed in action in 2011 while serving in Afghanistan, so this is in his honor. So this is a wonderful tribute to their son and his service to our country, and we appreciate it. The Veterans Grants Assistance Fund currently has a balance of just over $237,000. And we'll use 5% of the fund to provide grants each year. So we'll have about $11,800 to distribute every year for these grants. We are indebted to Phil and Kit Blake and George and Andrea Hidalgo for their impactful gifts to our Madison Rotary Foundation that are supporting veterans in our community. Please join me in celebrating the good works of the Madison Rotary Foundation Veterans Grant Assistance Fund. And one more time, thanks to George and Andrea, but also Phil and Kit for their major gifts to this fund. Thank you.
All right, well, we have this one last-minute addition. By the way, George has generously offered to match any gifts to this fund through the end of November, up to $50,000. So if you'd like to make a gift and get it matched by George, you can send your donation to the Rotary office and a note that it is for the Veterans Fund. So, very awesome. All right, we have birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor or wisdom that complements Rotary's mission. We also encourage members to make a gift to the Madison Rotary Foundation that represents their age, rounded up to 100, for our Synergy Scholarship Fund. All right, November 6th, Josh Anderson. November 6th, Michelle Harris. November 7th, Phil Blake. And we just heard about Phil Blake and his wife's generous gift to our foundation to establish the Veterans Grant Fund, and we appreciate that gift, Phil. November 7th, Bobby Sladkey. November 9th, Jason Belangi. November 9th, Ann Neviser. November 10th, Richard Enteman. November 10th, Mary Pat Williams. November 11th, Ted Teedy. November 11th, John Hayes. And John paraphrases Desmond Tutu. Do good, every little bit makes a difference. November 11th, Deb Lang. November 12th, past President Bob Dindorf. November 12th, Mike Franzen. And November 12th, Anita Muhammad. So thanks to our celebrants for their contributions to the Madison Rotary Foundation, and please join me in wishing them a happy birthday. To you, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you. Great, thank you, everybody. Happy birthday. All right, we've got one member in the news item this week. Valerie Rank was quoted in an article titled, "Finding Concrete Solutions. Insulated forms may hold the key to cheaper, more efficient homes." That was a great article, thanks. Neat idea to do the home like that, Valerie, that's awesome. Greg Zarkinski is a member of our Veterans Fellowship Group, and he's going to come up for an announcement that relates to our program today. Greg?
Close enough. Good afternoon, everybody. Greg Zakarski, proud member of the Veterans Fellowship Group. Set something straight. Veterans Day is Friday. Not to be confused, of course, with Memorial Day in May. Memorial Day is for those who have served and preceded us. Veterans Day is to celebrate those who are serving and have served, who are still with us. But you may have noticed a table when you walked in today after you've collected your ballot for the Board of Directors. It's the Prisoner of War Missing in Action table. Set for one, the empty place represents Americans, military and civilian, who are missing. The table symbolizes that they are with us in spirit. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing purity of their motives in answering the call to serve. The single red rose reminds us of the lives of these Americans and the loved ones and friends who keep their faith. The yellow ribbon symbolizes our continued uncertainty and hope for their return and determination to account for them ultimately. The slice of lemon reminds us all of their bitter fate, captured or missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt on the plate symbolizes the tears of our missing comrades and those of their families. A lighted candle reflects our hope for their return. The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share a toast with us. The chair is empty as they are missing. Paul?
Awesome, thank you, Greg. Our speaker today answered our nation's call to serve our country, and let me tell you a little bit more about her before she comes to the podium. Jodi Barnett served 8 years in the Navy. Following her service, she worked to help active duty and veteran military members achieve their higher education goals. For over 11 years, Jodi advanced from a part-time academic advisor to her final role as the Director of Marketing and Communications, Workforce Development, and Community Outreach. Jodi joined the Wisconsin Department of Veteran Affairs in the fall of 2021 as the Women's Veteran Coordinator. And today she's going to talk to us about women veterans then and now. We look forward to your presentation, Jodi, and we've made a contribution to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund as a way to say thanks for speaking with us today. I also want to mention that we'll have Q&A with our speaker at the end as time allows, but please wait for the microphone if you have a question. Let's welcome Navy veteran Jodi Barnett to our podium. Thank you.
I'm going to start by saying this happened on a whim, really. I was with Secretary Kolar one evening, and she said, I need to be somewhere on the 9th, but the Rotary would like me to come and talk about women veterans then and now. Are you interested? Yeah, of course I'm interested. I'm super shy. It should be really hard for me, right? So, okay, I'll go. I put my PowerPoint together. I don't think twice about it. It's just a great group of people. We're going to get together, break some bread, have some fellowship, and we're going to talk about women veteran. And then Monday morning this week happened. I'm at the copy machine making my copies, and Secretary Kohler comes out and she goes, Rotary's Wednesday. I have a lot of friends in that room. Just like this, as I'm doing it right now. And I thought, oh, great, now I'm nervous. So bear with me if I shuffle a little bit. I'm going to just press the forward button, correct, Tara? Okay. Maybe. There we go. I'm a fast talker, so we're going to try to get through some of this, okay? I thought it was important when we talk about, actually, if I could ask all the veterans in the room to stand, and let's give our veterans a round of applause. All my male veterans, please have a seat. So what do we have, 10, 15 veterans stand up? How many female veterans are in this room? Do we have another one somewhere? Oh, sorry. I'm not used to being told that. Good for me. Good for me. I think it's important to discuss, my transition was from San Diego, California, another military town, about 3 years ago, where I was a dime a dozen. Everybody was in the Navy and everybody was a female that I hung out with. I transitioned here to Madison, Wisconsin 3 years ago. That's a whole nother story, and I'll tell you that some other time. And I struggled. I struggled to find my people. I struggled to find my place in this world. I struggled to meet other female veterans. I struggled to meet a veteran community that was willing and accepting of a female veteran who had not served overseas. Yeah, see, sister shaking her head over there. The first time I went into the American Legion, the first question that was given to me was, the auxiliary meets on Tuesdays. That's great. I hope they have a good meeting. I like to tell this story as well. My husband is also a Navy veteran of 30 years, so together we have 40 years of service in our household. I was over here in Madison getting a lab done bright and early before I had to be over at the office, and it's 7 a.m., and the coffee clutches, I like to refer to them, were there, and they were all in their ball caps, and I grabbed number 7, and I thought, this will be fast. Excuse me, ma'am, you have to wait for your husband to get his number. This is this year. Exactly. So we're going to talk a little bit about where we've come from and where we are. The image that I'm showing you today, you can see this image is the World War I Army Nursing Corps. In this image, you will find 2 female Wisconsinites. The first one is Helen Bolisky of Madison, Wisconsin. She trained at Madison General Hospital, and after her graduation of October 1917, she practiced as a registered nurse. She was called to World War I. The second slide. Oh, did I break it, Tara? Oh, nope. The second slide features Amy O'Keefe, and you can read more and hear more about their stories from our lovely Wisconsin Veteran Museum over there. But Amy O'Keefe also activated in 1918. She served overseas for 1 year and became the first woman in Wisconsin to be elected post commander in the American Legion. Next slide, Tara. Thank you. Those of you may know Anna Mae Robertson. Anna Mae Robertson is part of the 688 Central Postal Directory Battalion. They were World War II's first and only black female battalion that served overseas. Anna Mae and her, I would say shipmates because I'm a Navy person, but I apologize if that offends anybody. Anna Mae and her battalion actually rolled into France and thought they would be there for quite some time. They had about an 18-month backlog of mail that they were supposed to deliver and get sorted out. They knocked it out 6 months. In and out. They were so great and so successful, they moved throughout Europe to get the rest of the mail home. Anna Mae was just, I giggle because she's adorable if you ever have the chance to meet her. Anna Mae was just our Veterans Day Parade honoree over in Milwaukee this weekend, and there's an actual honoree day for Anna Mae in Milwaukee as well. Next slide, Tara. Thank you, ma'am. I take a deep breath for those that knew Marjorie Marshman. Marjorie Marshman turned 100 at the end of October, and unfortunately passed away about 2 weeks ago. But Marjorie Marshman has a great story as well. I was with the secretary when the secretary gave her plaque, and she said, why did you go into the Marines? Why? Why did you join the military in World War II? That wasn't a done thing for that time frame. And she said, well, my brothers were doing it, my dad did it, so I did it. That's exactly what she said. And she was serious, and she was born and raised in Iowa, but came back and made Wisconsin her home. I think one of the great stats that I will share with you as I flip to it, Marjorie served over 9,524 volunteer hours at the William S. Middleton Hospital in the last 25 years of her life. Yeah, pretty amazing women. These amazing women, to include Secretary Kolar, paved my path. They allowed me to break glass ceilings. Secretary Kolar is a Navy captain. She is the first female secretary of our Wisconsin Department of Veteran Affairs. For those of you that are military will appreciate this story. I had been offered the position, and I thought, how great is this going to be? I'm super outgoing. I think I'm just going to love to talk about the military and programming and meeting people and getting people to connected. And I got the phone call, hey, we know you don't start for 10 more days, but the secretary is attending an event in Milwaukee and would like you to join her. Okay. She'll pick you up. Okay. So I was enlisted in the military, and Secretary Kolar retired as a captain. So I spent, before I was even an employee, 4 hours in the car with Secretary Kolar, and still let me come to the office the next week. Next slide, thanks, sir. I think it's important that we talk a little bit about the women veteran statistics, hence my veterans in the room stand up with one female standing. Nearly 84% of all female veterans are working age, 17 to 64 years compared to 55% of male veterans. A larger portion of female veterans end up working in management or professional occupations, more than our male counterparts. 40,000 women were deployed in Operation Desert Storm and Desert Shield, both as support personnel and in combat roles. 10% of the veteran population of the United States is comprised of women. We are one of the fast and growing demographics of veterans. Next slide, Tara. Thank you. According to the latest census, we will be about 17% of the total veteran population by 2040. The state with the highest number of veterans, women veterans, who would have guessed Alaska? Who would have guessed that? Not me. Suicide is among the most critical issues facing our women veterans. In 2017, we showed that the suicide rate of women had served in the military was twice as high as our civilian counterparts. The VA also estimates that female veterans are twice as likely to go homeless compared to our non-veteran women, hence the veteran grant. For those of you who have never made that transition from a paycheck, guaranteed paycheck on the 1st and the 15th, and the guaranteed health insurance to the world of the unknown, whether by choice or not, that grant goes a long ways. And I already touched on this. Approximately 30,000 veterans in Wisconsin are women of our 330,000. Next slide, Tara. I was like Marjorie. I joined the Navy because nobody told me I couldn't. Top motivators for women entering the military, educational benefits, right? GI Bill. I was fortunate to get my MBA while I was on active duty. I have a son who's playing college football at Ripon on my GI Bill now. Go Redhawks. Opportunities to pursue new experiences, travel. I joined the Navy from St. Louis, Missouri, and went to Oklahoma City for my first duty station. So that's right. That's another story, right? The Navy in Oklahoma. Career enhancement, desire to serve our country and achieve a sense of purpose. Next slide, please, Tara. Here's where I struggle, and here's what I've noticed as I've gotten out in the community over the last year. As a matter of fact, I was just over at UW Maverick in Milwaukee last night. They brought in a motivational speaker, 2 female veterans, and she came in to talk about, I will thrive. Why will you thrive? We went around the room. There was about 40 of us, and we were very honest and open with each other, and it was, tell me a time when you were recently sad, and let's find a bright spot. I'm going to be very sharing in this moment. I had to call 988 before I left last night because there is a young lady in that room who just needed that help. Just needed that help. She's fortunate that she's in the hands where she is at UW Maverick and that they have a great military education director over there. But we talk about how can we help? How can we help as community members? How can we be involved? We as community members need to make it easier to access higher education for veterans. A veteran student is not a traditional student. I am not going to go to school 8 to 5 and hang out at the frat house on Saturday. That's just not realistic. I'm probably working. I'm taking an online class. I'm picking up my kid from daycare. I'm probably hanging out on a base doing some other kind of drill weekend, right? Talk about employment. That was probably the hardest thing for me was getting a job out of the military. I couldn't figure out how to transition my military skills. I did weight and balance for F-18s. Translate that. Right. Nonprofits, making sure that our nonprofits are loud and that they raise their hand. We're here. We're happy to help. We want to help. Transition services are also being loud and happy to help, offering those transitions and being in touch with the right community members as they transition out. And the largest one that I hear is community resources. I got out of the Navy in Lemoore, California, but went back to South Bend, Indiana. So when I got out of the Navy, I sat in a class for 10 days to teach me how to be a civilian in California, what resources were available to me in California. No one told me what it was going to be like in South Bend. It took me a long time. I'll be honest, it took me 8 years to raise my hand and say, I think I got a problem. I need to go to the VA. How do I do that? So we must, as a community, become a voice in solving this. We need to not solve it for me, but solve it for us, our community members. These are our community members. Next slide, Tara, thanks. We talk a little bit about the sadness, but now I want to talk about herstory, as I like to say. If you follow me on social media, I mark everything with hashtag herstory. This year, Wisconsin's first all-female honor Badger flight left Madison in May. Mother's Day weekend. Unfortunately, a young member of the auxiliary had passed away, and she left a grant that actually provided the funds for this all-female flight. It was the first time it's ever been done, and it won't be the last, I promise. So here we are. You can see our little group of women there in the D.C. area at one of the museums gathered. Secretary Kolar and General Matthews had the pleasure of joining them on their trip. I don't know who was more exhausted. I think that our veterans wore out Secretary Kolar and General Matthews when they came back. I greeted them at the terminal, and she was like, do you have a water? Please, sir. Thank you. Here's another amazing herstory. And I say these herstories because we are making progress. For every step back, like, hey, you got to wait for your husband to grab your tag at the, I'm trying to buy time right here, can you tell? You got to wait for your husband to grab your tag at the hospital. We are also making strides. So as you see there, our salute to veterans tailgate this week, or this month actually, September, my apologies, what included Mary Kolar, and the Secretary of the President of the American Legion and the President of the VFW. First time in the state that all three were females. Next slide, Tara. So, as you can tell, I'd like to talk, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do as a Women Veterans Program. Please, Tara, next slide. Our purpose is to connect and address the needs of women veterans across the community and communities in Wisconsin. Next slide, ma'am. We are committed to encouraging and supporting recognition of women veterans in our state via our e-news, via retreats. I do an annual retreat, hopefully to make that a little more frequent. This past year was the first year past COVID, and we had 82 veterans in attendance. It's pretty good, and I will tell you that they left there and asked, when can we play together again? So that's a good. We do a Women Veteran Impact Award quarterly, the Woman Veteran of the Year. And then we highlight veteran business owners as well as celebrate Women Veterans Day. Next slide, please. Here's an example of our newsletter. It's issued quarterly. It highlights women veteran-owned businesses, department events, women veteran-related articles, healthcare, yada, yada, yada. Good. Next. All right, so next slide, Tara, thanks. So here's our most recent awardee for our Impact Award, Ashley Smits. She served 8 years in the Air Force from 2005 to 2014 as a staff sergeant. In 2019, she started Manitowoc County Veteran Group. She just wanted to get together like I did when I got here. She now has 500 members. They meet monthly. They meet at businesses in their Manitowoc County area. They are not veteran-owned specific businesses. They come in together. They spend the money in the business. They meet and greet and just talk about how their lives and how they can help each other. Woman Veteran of the Year. I'm going to get a little excited. So we are presenting the Woman Veteran of the Year tomorrow at the executive residence, and I was a little worried that we scheduled that tomorrow, not knowing how yesterday was going to go, if I'm being very honest, in this room. So I think the mood will be really good over there tomorrow. Each year, the Wisconsin Women Veteran of the Year Award recognizes a woman and veterans who compile a record of exemplary service, such as military service members, veterans, outstanding member of the community. Nominations are open September 1. Next slide, ma'am. I was told to go fast, sorry. This year is former Marine Corps Captain Natalie S. How do you say that? Oh, see, she's famous. I ordered her award, and they were like, oh my God, we were cheering. So most of you know that she is part of the WPS program and very, very, very involved here in the community of Madison and beyond. So tomorrow she'll get her plaque with her mother in tow. Here's really what I want to talk about. And as I talk, and if you find that you want to have more information on this, I actually put some information over on the table regarding the employer resources. Our Veteran Employment Grant Program at a glance. You can receive $5,000 in funding over a 12-month period when you hire a qualifying veteran full-time, and up to $2,500 if you hire part-time veterans. Now I start to sound like a salesman a little bit. I'm sorry. But I'd be remiss if I didn't share. So I won't read line for line there, but it's pretty self-explanatory. $5,000 for each disabled veteran or an employer employs for 12 consecutive months to work a full-time job, $2,500 for the following 6 months of employment, and $2,500 for the following 6 months of employment. And it's broken up into, for the $2,500 as well, it's broken up over the course of 12 months. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. Veteran-owned business certificate. Businesses can register with the DOA, e-supplier system, be notified when we get state bids and contracts, authorized to use our logo in the window. Businesses are added to our database to be searched. So if it's especially if you're a disabled veteran and that's what you want to say that loud and proud like I do, right? Next slide. Awesome.
Hi, I'm Taylor Okerlund, Army veteran for 6 years.
Hi, I'm Carolina Corral, Army veteran of 6 years.
Meet veteran-owned Purple Basil, an Italian food truck that allows you to customize your choice of pasta, sauce, and more to order. Even though Carolina and Taylor are from different states, their former professions brought them together.
So I am Carolina Corral. I'm originally from Texas. My husband, Taylor, he is originally here from Central Wisconsin. We actually met in the military while serving in the same unit, and he convinced me to move up here with our daughter.
Carolina has a culinary degree and has experience working in restaurants and catering services. While in the military, she continued to cook and serve soldiers. After her service ended, she wanted to find a way to continue to invest time in her passion for cooking, leading to Purple Basil.
The reason we chose the name Purple Basil is a herb. We chose purple because also it's my favorite color and it represents women empowerment. If you want to reach us for any questions about our menu, where to find us, any catering service that you need, you can call us at 715-712-2198. You can visit our website, purplebazilllc.com, and you can order online and do pickup.
Thanks, Tara. So I share that story with you because I think it's important that we think of veterans as business owners as well as, you know, people that we hire for our traditional types of jobs. Veteran business owners are here in our community. I just did 2 interviews this week with female veteran business owners in this state. You like that? I got a giggle out of that female part. Women's Veterans Day is celebrated every June 12th. We're fortunate Governor Evers has issued a proclamation, and that will happen every single June 12th each year. Next slide. All right, Chris, here we go. Let's test my knowledge, huh? I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with our I Am Not Invisible display. Our I Am Not Invisible display is available via our Wisconsin Veterans Museum. I make fun of Chris because he'll go back and give a report card when I get done here. You can see it's on display there. That is our actual launch of that in 2019. This program started. in this great state of Oregon and has kind of continued across the country. I was at UW Parkside on Monday with Secretary Kolar, and they actually did an unveiling, and they have that in their rotunda this week. We're doing another photo shoot. If anybody is interested or knows a female veteran, let me know. We're doing another photo shoot at the end of January in Manitowoc, and these include oral histories as well. So it's kind of putting your history in an archive. I will share stories with a stranger before I'll share stories with my teens about my military time. I know that's sad, but that's true. Next slide, Tara, thanks. Our Do Tell, another one that's passionate for me. The Do Tell project documents the stories of LGBTQ plus community Wisconsin veterans who served under the ban. We lost a lot of veterans during that time frame, and it's important to the Wisconsin Department of Veteran Affairs via the Wisconsin Veterans Museum that we capture those stories and we recognize those individuals who may not feel like veterans, but they sure are veterans. So if you're interested, you know somebody, please see me or stop in and say hi to Chris, and he'll give you some more information about how we can participate and highlight that program. I think I'm done almost. Oh, it's Veterans Day. Veterans Day on the Rotunda is Friday. Please join us. Ceremony is actually sponsored by the Madison Veterans Council and Wisconsin Department of Veteran Affairs. The governor and Secretary Kolar, and Chris is our guest speaker for Friday. Please join us. Ceremony will kick off at 10 a.m. with a moment of silence at 11 a.m. It's probably the most moving thing that I've ever done outside of the Vietnam Wall. Just the echoing from the singing and the tributes and the authenticity behind the program. I'm going to open up for questions, but I'm putting a caveat out there. Where is she? I can't answer a climate change question. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Hi, I'm Karen Kendrick Hands. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the people who serve. Not everybody leaves with an honorable discharge and a clean slate, and sometimes they need even more help. Are your services available to people who leave with less than an honorable discharge?
We do have services available to those. We have a program called the VORP program. It's the Veterans Outreach and Recovery type of program that you only have to serve a day. That's it. And we don't care what kind of discharge that you have. If you have services that you're in need of, we're there. And if we if we don't have the resource underneath our umbrella, we're going to match you with that resource. I had my moment of sadness I shared last night in the group. I'm being really raw in a group of, I don't know, 2 people. She did not enjoy her time in the Coast Guard. She had nothing good to say. And as you can tell, I am a glass half full, silver lining. We're having a good time. And I left questioning what I'm doing because she just didn't have a good experience. And I couldn't understand why 4 years in the Coast Guard based out of San Diego, and I had to step back and think, just like you said. She's like, look, yeah, I served, but I don't think of myself as a veteran. I wouldn't recommend it to another female. And so I think I broke her. We'll wait and see, but I think she's coming around to the fact that, yes, you did serve. And we need to deal with what we need to deal with. Let's talk about it. Let's find those resources. Great question. Thank you. Also, beautiful sweater.
Ron Luskin, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Sorry to end on a downer, but could you talk a little bit about the mental health issues that face veterans and services that are provided and what we could do to support somebody who may be facing those challenges?
It's not a downer, it's realistic, right? We talk a little bit about how many times have we all heard the 22 a day. That number has actually changed a little bit. It's 17 a day is the number that we actually use based off of USDVA. Please don't be confused that I'm with WDVA, Wisconsin Department of Veteran Affairs, but we are here in Madison and fortunate to be with one of the top 5 veteran affairs hospitals in the country. My husband also works there, so I'm a little biased. But we do have access to amazing mental health programs. The first thing that I would tell you that if you have an employee or a community member that comes to you that needs assistance, the first thing that I would say is, 1, have you talked to your county CVSO, which is Dan Connery, County Service Veteran Officer. Let's make sure that conversation happens. And then we have amazing mental health facility here in Madison. I'm, much to my family's chagrin, I will give a card out in a heartbeat. Call me. Just like last night. I thought you were going to be home. Yeah, me too. Well, it doesn't work out that way. I'm not leaving no man left behind. That's kind of in. And this community has great resources, from the County Service Veteran Office to the programs at the Beacon, to the programs over in the social service offices between UW and Madison. Stand Down Madison is an amazing program too. If anybody has ever heard of that, is the homeless or near homeless program that happens once a year here in Madison. We have them. They're here. I promise. And if they're not getting help, let me know, because Chris and I'll take somebody down. Any other questions? Ooh, that was kind. I was kind of afraid. I wasn't afraid to speak, but the questions I was a little afraid of when I got the whole climate change.
Awesome. Great job, Jodi. Thank you. Thank you, Jodi, for speaking with us today. You did an excellent job. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. And thanks to everyone who's attended today's meeting. I hope that you join us next week when we're going to hear from UW Professor Barry Burden, who's going to talk to us about the 2022 post-election results. I know it's going to be a very interesting program, and please invite a friend along to the meeting. It'll be very interesting to hear his analysis of the election, so please do that. One thing you may not have noticed today, or maybe you did notice, but today's the first time, I think, in 30 years that we didn't have anyone from Rotary office staff here present. Unfortunately, they all came down with COVID. So I guess that's what happens when you work so close together and spend so much time really dedicated to serving us. And I'm told that they're doing well, they're all recovering, and they're going to be back in person soon. And just so you know, they've all still been working while they're not feeling well, which probably doesn't surprise you if you know them. Pat still attended the Monday board meeting over Zoom. And talk about someone who puts service above self. Really incredible. They're so dedicated. We're so fortunate to have them, and I hope that they get better soon. I also wanted to say thank you to the Rabbi Manfred E. Swarsensky Humanitarian Service Award Committee and Chair Steve Goldberg. Thank you for that and the work you do every year to get this important award out, so thank you for that. And then a huge thank you to all the volunteers who helped make today's meeting run so well. Everybody, Tara, I know you did the slides, and everybody else just pitching in to help out. As soon as the word went out that the Rotary office staff wouldn't be here, we had a ton of volunteers, which doesn't surprise anybody in the room at all. But thank you for making that run so well. And I appreciate the help for the election from the Kitchen Fellowship Group. If you still have a ballot, please raise that in the air so we can get that, so we can get those counted. And with that, we are adjourned.